Hey, welcome back. Welcome back and step outside. Let's jump right in. As you can see, I'm sitting today. I'm keeping it nice and calm. The subject that I'm going to start with could get certain people riled up a little bit, so we're gonna keep it calm. We might even let's take a couple deep breaths. I got the setting. It's like a little bit lower today. It's grass. It's bush. It's nice. This is a nice one. This is a little bit more low key, a little bit more. It's a little bit less demanding on the whole, the processing, yeah. Okay, so have you ever gone to a cooking class and said there was too much cooking? Didn't really. The whole time it was like we were cooking the whole time. Um, Imagine voluntarily, okay, voluntarily. And this isn't just because you're in school, but imagine choosing to go to some kind of a math class. All right, you're looking to just add a little fun evening education into your life, and you decide you're gonna sign up for a math class, and you go and then you leave and you tell everybody, listen, it was just too much math the whole time. From the minute we got there to the minute we left, it was math. I would never do it again, and highly, dissuade anyone from going to that math class. If you're looking to get math, you should go somewhere else because that they just focused on math too much. It's nonsensical. It doesn't even make any sense. As you hear it, you know that it's paradoxical. It's knocking, right? You're like, no, that sounds exactly what I want. I go to a math class, I want math. I go to a cooking class, I want cooking. I go to a yoga class, I want yoga. I go to some kind of spiritual science class, some kind of philosophy class, some kind of meditative class. I want spiritual science. I want philosophy. I want meditation. And that's yoga. So just imagine my surprise when I'm brought these things. I'm constantly told stories of other schools and other teachers, and people are asking, what let's get real comfortable. It's just ridiculous. What should be in the class, what shouldn't be in the class, how it should go, how it shouldn't go. When you teach, like I hope to, always very authentically from my heart, from a place of passion, and because I've studied, from a place of knowing. You want to be able to teach. If you're going to teach something, you want to know what you're teaching. So a lot of people, because of that, they'll come to me and they'll kind of ask me, like, should a class be mentioning this? Should a class be mentioning that? How long should Shavasana be? Those kinds of things. And I'm always surprised. I'm always taken aback when people bring me topics from other teachers or other studios or other communities, and they want to just immediately tell me their opinion. That's not the surprising part. I love that. I want to know what people think about other studios, other communities, if they're accepting, if they're welcoming, if they're inclusive, those kinds of things. And if the opposite isn't true, it's good to know. It is good to know. It's good to know what places might be seeking more information, might be seeking some kind of continuous education or some workshops, stuff like that. So I'm always open ears. But when I hear that I should avoid a studio because the class had too much philosophy, when I first hear that, let's start from the scratch. Okay, you're in an asana practice, so that means asana, the postures. Okay, the third of an 8-limb practice. There's yama niyama, then there's asana, then pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. Okay, some of these have different parts, different tiers, different levels, different themes that are included within them. But if we were to oversimplify, the third limb, the postures, are what we're doing on the mat. So that's what we gather to do on the mat. That's why at the end of at the end of the names of the postures, there's the word asana. So example, Shavasana. You guys watched the video on Shavasana. So there you go, Shavasana, the corpse. So asana, the postures. When we get onto the mat, we're going to be doing the postures. We're pretty much completely focused on doing the postures. If it's a vinyasa, there's a tempo that's meant to be had. There's a rhythm to the practice that should be there, kind of integrated into it. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't talk about what yoga is. The other 7 limbs shouldn't be just completely forgotten about, because without those 7 limbs, the third limb by itself is just exercise. And this is what brought us to kind of me having this channel even, and doing these, not just the channel, but having these kinds of conversations and these topics arise is to say it's too much. It's too much, guys. We need to dial it back. We focused too much on the third limb. We need to hone in on the other seven. We need to find a way to share these other seven, even if it's just in dribs and drabs during the practice. Little pauses, holds, any opportunity, just little bits. And if you get really masterful at it after practicing, doing it for a while, then you're able to kind of create a theme for the practice. And anytime there's a break or anytime there's a pause, just little bits, kind of dripped in throughout the class so that the entirety of the practice culminates in some kind of information. It is a yoga practice. Yes, it's sadhana, but it's also led by a yoga teacher. So you're in a setting, in a theme where historically this is the only thing that would be taught is philosophy. The third limb would never have been taught historically. Okay, like let's get that. You guys know me. I'm just gonna be straight with you. They weren't really gonna care too much about your asana. They weren't. They had so much more stuff to cover. And once you do turn over that leaf, once you do start seeking what else is there other than the postures, you'll immediately notice, like, holy crap, there's so much other stuff than, Warrior One. It's just, it's mind blowing. It's mind blowing. So when you know that there's those other things, you know that historically there wouldn't have been an asana practice. It wouldn't have been even close to the priority of a real teacher, in a real shala, in a real studio school setting. The postures would have been very minimal. We have more of a need for them in the West because the mind is so turbulent, and we want to have a way where we subdue the mind, we exhaust the manifest, so that the unmanifest can actually become part of the practice. Otherwise, the manifest is the only thing part of the practice. People's thoughts and opinions and emotional reactions become the forefront of their personality, and then you get stuff like this story, this reason that I'm making this video. You get someone who considers themselves a teacher of yoga, consider themselves a little bit more influential in certain communities, and I'm not going to go any further than that. But that person, they don't, they really don't have a respect for the science, the philosophy, the culture, the history, the language, all of it. So, is it surprising to me to hear someone at that level within their own practice saying that it was too much philosophy? No, because I think that for certain people, you just tell them there is philosophy and that's too much for them. You tell them yoga is science and that's too much for them. You tell them that yoga is psychology and it's a practice of the mind, and that becomes a very big trigger for them where they react emotionally. They stay at that manifest surface level and they're not going to be able to deepen the practice. It hurts me. It honestly saddens me to think that someone who could have so much more of the practice involved in their life and could then turn around and share it with so many people, um, you know, even if it's just through their kind of influence of their circle. Not to say they have a big following or anything, but that's how it starts. We all can start by kind of creating that dialogue. Yeah, there's more to this, guys. There's more to this than just touching your toes, standing on your hands, doing splits. Um, and if we don't think there is, the second we hear some kind of philosophical talk, that's it. They tune out, they shut down. So this brings me to my first point. My first point: if you're on the mat doing asana, guys, make it sure the practice is mostly about the asana. Okay, you don't want to be moving so slowly and talking too much to where people aren't actually focusing on what you're saying because they are in their own head. They're frustrated. They kind of go into this very childish way. It's called asmita. It's one of the 5 kleshas, after avidya, which we all have to deal with. Avidya. We all have to deal with our own asmita, but we have to know what it is. And if it's that asmita that they identify with, then you're going to hear someone say, I didn't like the class because there was too much philosophy in a philosophy class. As long as they're moving, and I know the studio that person was talking about, the people leave soaked in sweat. You see athletic, you see very, very physically capable people going into that class, going into that studio. I drive by it all the time, so I see who's in and out of that place all the time. And it is popular and it is busy. So I wonder then, was this teacher one of their maybe not as experienced teachers. Maybe this was one of their less popular teachers. No, I comes to find that that's their most popular teacher, and that's the the most full class that they have is the one that speaks too much philosophy. Um, Yoga is philosophy, guys. If you're studying philosophy, you're studying yoga. Even if you're studying a philosopher from the West, you're studying yoga. It's just understanding what the word means. It's understanding the science behind it. It's understanding that that was a darshana, a philosophical um, uh, line of reasoning, line of thought that then leads yoga to be not just a darshana, but also a shastra, a science, because there's certain components of it that can be tried and tested and verified, and proven more and more every day that the West is now verifying through our modern science, which is really, really cool. But if you walk into a class and you might walk into one of my classes, and right when I sit down, I say, remember, guys, yoga is a science, and though we're going to be moving our bodies and breathing heavily and trying new things and putting our bodies into these shapes, we still have to acknowledge that the science is of the mind, the science is meditation. You hear those things. It shouldn't be dissuading you from the class. It shouldn't be pushing you into a thought of oh my goodness, here we go, philosophy. Like, no, that's what you're there for. That's what you're there for. And if you're not there for that, I'll tell you guys, and this is going to sound blunt, you're in the wrong class. It's okay. It's okay. This is why yoga wasn't done by everyone. Not everyone does yoga, and that's okay. That's why there have been other physical regimens historically, no matter what, no matter if we're talking about yoga or not. Some people run, some people lift weights, some people go for long walks, some people swim, some people bike, some people, I don't know, friggin' rock climb. There's so many different physical regimens that we don't have to just all lump it in with yoga, because then something like this happens. You hear that someone went to a yoga class and they tell you there's too much philosophy. If they just laid you down and you expected to go to a vinyasa, they lay you down and they expect you to take notes mentally and listen to them lecture. No, you're right. It's too much philosophy. I agree. But if you leave and you've sweat and you've stretched and you pushed and you did the asana flow and at the same time had to listen to philosophy, I'm sorry. That sounds like a great class. That sounds like a great class. That sounds like a way that I would hope that my students would describe the class. Not saying too much philosophy, but while you're flowing, while you're moving, while you're stretching, while you're sweating, while you're pushing and defying gravity and doing postures and shapes that you didn't think that your body was capable of, while that was happening, he teaches. What? What? He teaches about science. He teaches about philosophy. Teaches about the history and the culture. You have to care about these things. You have to know about these things to be able to teach them. So whoever that teacher is, I want to shake their hand. I don't want to tell them that they did a bad job. Someone told me that they taught too much philosophy. I want to shake their hand and say, yes, keep doing that. That's what we need right there. We need people to know that if you walk into a yoga practice, no matter how powerful the flow might be, you're going to have to hear philosophy. You're going to have to hear science. And if you don't like that, then go to Pilates, go to Zumba, go to stretch and sculpt, go to sculpt and sculpt, go ride a bike, go climb a tree, go do another physical practice that is very similar. I mean, there's so much that's similar to yoga right now, guys. There's so much. It's just like, there's yoga flows that look precisely like a yoga flow, but there's not a single word of Sanskrit spoken. There's not a single meditative cue. There's not a single thought of introspection or contemplation guided. So go to those. You don't have to hear a word of philosophy. I don't care what they call it either. Sculpt, stretch, sculpt, all the sculpts. Do all the sculpts. And you'll find it's a yoga class where they don't actually mention self-seeking, self-awareness, peace eternal, love eternal, unity, divine oneness. Oh my gosh, you have to hear about that for an hour? Sounds beautiful to me. And at the same time, I'm going, whoa, oh my goodness, it's hot in here. I'm working hard. This is, wow, what a strong flow. Very safe, very structural. If that's the way I look at a practice, yeah, let her be teaching philosophy. I once had a class where the woman was trying to tell us all that we were sunflowers or butterflies. I'm not exaggerating, guys. I'll start revealing more and more of my stories as we go through, and this is one of them. I heard this today. So, you know, In the past, it was something like that, where I'm in the class and I'm trying to just, be open to going to new teachers' flows and trying other teachers and seeing what else is out there. And, I have to sit in a child's pose. I'll never forget. I think it was like 4 or 5 minutes. And she's telling us that we're sunflowers and we're butterflies. I will never forget it. Finished the class, thanked her. And it was one of those kind of real moments for me where I thought, no, we can't just fill in the time with flowery, silly. I mean, silly's fine, but vapid, superficial, right? There's so much of that. There's so much of that we can deepen it. We can add philosophy. We can add science. We can add history. We can add teachings from the texts. Why would we avoid that? We should never. And if it is something that does trigger you to hear this kind of thing, like yoga's meditation, yoga's philosophy, yoga's science, if it triggers you to hear those kinds of things, well, we have sayings in yoga that are meant for that. It's like the posture that you avoid is the one you need to do. The part of the practice that you avoid is the part that you should study more into, and you should try to integrate it little by little, bit by bit. If it's the philosophy that you avoid, how much do you study? If it's the science that you avoid, how much do you study? And if your answer is none, add a little bit, then add a little bit more. and study the history of yoga so that you know that it's not the stretching on the mat. You shouldn't walk into a room and expect to just be put through a good workout if you expect to get a good yoga practice. Let's go historically. Let's go back 100 years and tell a yoga teacher, a true yoga teacher in India, I'm going to go to a yoga class. How much philosophy should I expect? Philosophy and science, that's it. That's all you should expect. Well, do I need a water bottle? Do I need a mat? Should I bring a change of clothes? Like, why? Bring a notebook and you'll do yoga. That was 100 years ago. And in many parts of the world today, that still is the case. You want to do yoga? Bring a notebook. You want to learn yoga? Bring a notebook and bring an open mind and bring an awareness. Bring a self-seeking component to your mindset, so that you're not just stuck in your own opinion and your own ego and your own childish ego, asmita, that might complain because it's hearing too much about the thing that will break the chains of it, that will break its chains. Ego has its chains so tightly bound, and it's up to us to break them through practice, through understanding, and then through practice. But to practice without understanding is empty. It's better to understand and not practice. There you go. I'm going to quote my teacher, Swamiji Nikalananda Saraswati, but that's one of my favorite quotes by him. It's better to understand and not practice than practice without understanding. So too much philosophy, too much science. It's like saying I went to a cooking class and there was too much cooking. There was too much food talked about. All right, I got a couple things to read here. I'm going to go through these. They're pretty easy, pretty quick ones. I just jotted down shorter ones. And yeah, I think that's all that I had to say about that whole thing. I'm sweaty. It's hot. You see the sun on me? Leave me alone. I sweat just thinking about doing these videos. I sweat. I just think about sweating and I sweat. Okay. I'm just now getting into my yoga journey and I'm loving it. The only thing is I feel like because I'm so tall, I'm not doing most of the postures correctly. Not a problem I have to deal with, but something I could definitely speak to. I'm not that tall. I'm thinking like 5'10". I can only imagine how tall this guy is saying this. Maybe he's like 6'5", 6'6", big guy. I've taught a lot of tall people. I've taught very short people. And I can tell you that it's all relative. All right. It's all relative to the person's proportions, but the cues do not change. Okay. So to this person, if you ever see this, or to anyone else out there that's really tall, listen very well for the cues, because if cues are given properly, then you'll be able to follow along perfectly. And if you're looking around to see that you look like everyone else, it's not going to do you very good. All right. And that goes for any body type. That goes for anybody. You look at another person, try to mimic them. That's not what we're looking to do. You almost want to close your eyes, hear the cues, and get into the posture in that way. If you have the opportunity, go home and look up some of the postures that might have felt a little bit different, a little bit wonky, a little off, and see if there's any cues that you can pick up on a video or in a book that you can see that are going to be more conducive to you feeling the expression of the posture. All right, because if you just get into the posture and you think this doesn't feel right, I got I'm gonna tell you, it doesn't feel right because it's not right. All right, if we're uncomfortable is one thing, but if the posture just feels off, it's not on. So make the modifications by listening for the precise cues. And if you have a teacher that you trust, make sure you go to them and you say, in this pose, I feel like I'm not getting enough out of it, or I'm not comfortable. I can't settle into it. What should I be doing wrong? And show them and let them give you more fine and refined cues so that it fits your body type, rather than just trying to follow along with a group, because that is sometimes what happens. More of the general cues are given so that a group can follow along at once, and that's okay. But we do want to, if it's a big group and you don't feel like you're having that one-on-one time or attention with the teacher, go over after or before the class. And oh my God, I'm sweating. I am so sweaty, guys. Go over before or after the class and ask the teacher, hey, help me out. I'm a giant. I mean that with all love. It seems like if I'm bent over with both my hands on blocks or something, my back is way too rounded or my shoulders are messed up compared to everyone else's straight line. All right, so yeah, we are comparing to other people, but this might be a valid point. Are you putting your hands on blocks? Dude, you're going to need more blocks. So if you're trying to do a posture, let's say it's a basic forward fold. I'm not recommending this for a down dog or anything like that. But let's say it's a basic forward fold and you're just trying to hip hinge properly. Weight in the heels, hips drifting back. It's okay to bend your knees. A little slight bend in the knees, hips drifting way back. That's going to solidify your hip activation, and that's going to make sure that the low back stays safe. Okay, because once our glutes go engaged and our hamstrings are engaged, that's going to make our back much safer. So then let's talk about where the hands are. If you're not doing like a hang forward fold where you can grab your elbows or just hang heavy, and you do want to have your hands placed down, I don't know why, but if you do, put them on something taller, put them on something out in front of you so you can even extend. Wow, oh my God, I'm so sweaty, guys. Jesus. You can extend your arms out in front of you a little bit. I don't care though. And that way you can feel a little bit more of that hips drifting back engagement. And yeah, no rounding backs. We don't want that. If it's a triangle, if it's a extended side angle, if it's a extended flank, anything like that. Tandya Madhava Bhaktapada Janu Shirsasana, foreheads of the knee pose, anything like that. Try to avoid, forehead of the knees, not really that one if you're new to the practice, but always try to keep your back as long as you can. If you need to ease your way out of a posture to protect your back and make it more like whatever else looks like, then I would actually recommend that, because we don't want round back. Are there taller blocks? That's a great question. I hope so. If they're not, stack them so that they're flat. Don't stack them tall. All right, stack them flat and wide. Give yourself enough surface area so that it's nice and stable and you're not balancing on something that's balancing, right? Because if that falls, we weeble, we wobble, we all fall down. Am I overthinking this? Would love to hear from other tall people. Well, you didn't. Love for tall people. Any tips on adjusting postures or something? Okay, no, you're not overthinking this. The postures have to be comfortable. They have to be stable. They have to be sustainable for us to engage in any kind of meditative, introspective state. If it's just movement for the sake of movement, it's not yoga. So no, you're not overthinking this. I'm sorry that I'm not taller and I couldn't give you help, but I do believe that if you can find the more refined cues to fit your body type, your height, and if you ask a teacher that you respect, maybe that's the lead teacher at the studio that you're going to, find them, pull them aside and say, listen, I'm rounding too much. I'm feeling it too much. And listen, if you don't stop rounding, your back's going to feel it. Your back's going to tell you. So let them know now before you get into a point where it's really, really uncomfortable. So yeah, there you go. I have another one. I'm going to save it. Yeah, I just decided that. I'm going to save that one for a whole nother video. Yeah. I went to a cooking class and there was too much cooking. I'm too tall. These things are able to be addressed. And questions. Any questions at all? Comments, stories, anything at all? Leave it down there. You got there's a whole comment section. Like, subscribe, do the bell thing. I think the bell's a thing too on this one. And yeah, share it to anybody you know that might be tall or might think that you can have too much math in a math class. Have a great day, guys. Thanks for tuning in as always, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.